listening to the Motherhood Experience, a podcast where you are part of the conversation with moms, for moms, and by moms. Let's jump into this episode with me, your host, Val Kleppen. Well, happy Tuesday and welcome back to the Motherhood Experience podcast. Friends, this conversation was so rich, and I might be putting my foot in my mouth. It happens sometimes. But Kelsey Cook, who is my guest today, she's a younger mom than me, but I will tell you, she has this figured out. She was so wise beyond her years. I am so excited for you to listen into our conversation. Of course, you know I have to ask you, follow us on Facebook, Instagram. I almost said Twitter, but we're not even there, so don't follow us there. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, if you would please leave us a 5-star review, or I'll just say this, leave us an honest review wherever you listen to podcasts. I would love the 5-star reviews because it helps us tremendously. But if you don't think it's 5-star worthy, leave us an honest review. You know, I'm up for it. I'm up for it. I'm not into it, but I'm up for it. This conversation with Kelsey, y'all, she is just a brilliant, beautiful mom who turned a pandemic problem into a profitable business. And you'll hear the story incrementally over our talk together. And I was just blown away by the things that she has learned from this entire process, the insight that she shared with you, and all of the implementations that she has learned from and done as a result of this whole motherhood journey for you. It was so, I was kind of like a little uncharacteristically, I think, of me. I was kind of bouncing off the walls in this conversation because she was just saying so much. And I was like, oh, I want to ask about that. Oh, I want to ask about that. And I do not come prepared to these conversations. I'm just confessing that now. I look into who the guest is, and that's as far as I go. And so I didn't have any of these questions ready for her, but I kept thinking of so many and could have just peppered her with so many more, but she did a phenomenal job answering them with such grace and finesse. I'm so pleased to be able to introduce you to Kelsey today. Also, I mentioned this at the end of the episode, but I want to mention it here up front. Be sure to check the show notes, and she has given a discount code. So the discount code will be listed in the show notes if you are interested in either getting these kits she talks about for yourself, for your own household, or gifting one to someone. Maybe you know a mom who has kids that are the appropriate age for one of these kits. It would be such a fantastic gift. And I don't know what else to say. Can you tell? I'm a little amped up. I'm just like so rah after my conversation with her. You will be too. So here it is, my conversation with fellow mom and entrepreneur Kelsey Cook. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Motherhood Experience, where I am so pleased to have Kelsey Cook joining me today. Kelsey, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, it's a thrill to have you and to get to know more about you. And we start every episode with the ages of kids and stage of motherhood you're in. So why don't you share some about that?
Okay, so I have a 9-year-old, 6-year-old, 3-year-old, and 1-year-old. So I'm all over the stages.
Wow. Wow.
We're busy. We're busy over here.
Yes, you are. Goodness. And boys, girls?
So I had 2 boys, then I had a girl, and then another boy. So 3 boys and a girl.
And so you've got a little princess in the mix.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
I know, it's so fun.
When you were growing up, were you an only child? Did you have siblings?
So I have 3 siblings. So we have 4 in my family too. I'm the oldest, and then I have a sister and then 2 little brothers.
Oh, so a 50-50 split in your family.
It's nice.
Oh, that's fun. So what were kind of your ideas on motherhood, being the oldest daughter and having 3 younger siblings? What was that like?
So I always wanted to be a mom. I always wanted I worked with kids all the time. Like I loved babysitting, I loved nannying, and then I became a teacher. So having kids was like always something that I was very excited about.
When you were the oldest sister and your three younger siblings, were obeying your every whim, obviously. Did you play school where you were a teacher over them?
All the time. That was like my favorite thing. Like if I could get them, my little brother loves to joke about how I would tell them, in this school, you clean my bedroom, you clean the teacher's room. Like it worked out well for me.
Okay, so this is making me laugh because I am an oldest as well.
Okay.
And so yes, I relate to these kinds of rules. And
yes.
I used to say things like, when my mom would take me to get my hair cut, I have naturally curly hair. My sister has stick straight hair. But I would come home and I'd be like, let me show you what my hairdresser did to me today. But it was only because that was the only way she would let me play with her hair.
Yes. I love it.
We just made our own rules, you know?
Oh yeah, always. And I'm like, I loved bossing around is what I like to say. And so then I was like, okay, well, if I can boss a whole class of kids around, that's perfect.
So what level of education did you want to go into, and was that the same that you ended up going into?
Yeah, so I always wanted to do elementary education. I loved it. I love younger kids. And I taught third grade, and then I moved to kindergarten. And I taught 5 years in third grade and then moved to kindergarten. And I thought, like, am I going to like this? Is it going to be hard? Because I loved third grade. And then I ended up really loving kindergarten. They're just so sweet. And it's like such like a special age. And then I actually eventually taught preschool. And so I really love that early childhood age.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of interesting then. I started out as a secondary ed major.
Okay.
And then on Wednesday nights, every Wednesday night for a solid year, June to June, I taught middle school Bible class at my church. And I changed my major.
Because I was going to say, I'm always like, wow, I really respect the secondary education teachers because I couldn't do it. Their grade was my height.
Yeah, I think elementary is a real sweet spot for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about this then. What about your husband and his experience with family, and was he on board with any kids, let alone 4?
Yeah, he was. So he is one of 4 too. So I think we were both kind of going into like, okay, eventually we want to have 4. I was always saying, I think I want 5. I think I want 5. And then after I had my 4th, I'm like, no, I want 4. That's right. He was always like, there's no way we're having 5. And I was like, you'll change your mind.
Yeah. Well, but the 8 years, or 4 kids in 8 years,
it's busy.
That is so, I love that. I'm a big fan of that. I think having as many kids as possible, as close as possible, is such a gift. Really.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm thrilled for you. I'm thrilled for you. What is it like with you having your first be a boy, your first 2 be a boy? Did you think like, oh, I'm just destined for boyhood, mom? Was it an adjustment? What was that like?
So when my first was a boy, I was so excited. I have 2 little brothers, so I loved, and honestly, like when I would teach school, I always was able to like kind of relate to the boys a little bit better. So I was excited to have a boy. And then when the second one was a boy, I was also so excited because of brothers. So my first 2 are about 2.5 years apart. And so I was like hoping it was a boy because I just knew that brother relationship would be so fun,
Yeah.
So, but then after that, I thought, okay, now I'm going to only have boys, So when I found out my third was a girl, I made them check like 4 different times on the ultrasound. I'm like, are you sure? Like every time I went, I was like, can you just double check? Like I didn't quite believe it was a girl until she came. And I always thought like, oh, I don't need a girl. Boys are the best. But then I had her and I'm like, okay, I really needed a girl.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. And she's 3?
She's 3. Yeah. So she's like prime princess age,
Oh, yes. Yes, I do know.
It's so fun.
Yeah. What is the dynamic like with her brothers? Are they pretty protective or?
Yeah, they're pretty protective of her, but they're also like, they're just rough in general, because having 2 boys together, they're always wrestling. So she can really keep up with them. So it's like, I'm never worried about her because she'll lay the law down at our house.
Yeah. So she's a princess, but she can also stand on her own.
Yes. And actually with our 4th, we didn't find out what we were having until he was born. So we waited which was so fun. I never did that with any of my other ones, and it was so fun. And I was like, I can only do this because I'm okay if she doesn't get a sister. I really
Yeah.
didn't care either way. And
Yeah.
my sister actually lives a mile from me, and
Oh,
she
wow.
has a little girl that's 5 months younger than my daughter. So they're like best friends, sisters. So I was
Oh,
like,
my
she has a
goodness.
sister, and it was so fun.
That is so precious.
Oh, it's
What
the
a gift
best.
that is.
Yes, it's the best.
Oh man, my sister just called me on her lunch break today, and just from hearing my side of the conversation, my kids were cracking up. Like,
Sisters are the best.
Yeah, it's a real special relationship there.
Yeah.
And that's just so sweet that y'all can raise your kids so close together.
Yes, it's so fun.
Wow. So did you find that it was easier to turn on teacher mode or mom mode once you became a mother?
I feel like when I was getting ready to have a baby, I was like, oh, I can do this. I'm teaching 28 kindergartners, like one baby, what is that? And then I was like, wow, this is really hard. So it was a big adjustment in that, like, you don't really realize how much you're going to worry, and every little thing, like I was Googling, I'm like looking up, like you think about kids, and even being a teacher, I didn't know, so I feel like that was a hard mama to jump into. Like, okay, I'm not going to know everything. I can't figure out everything. I'm going to have to let some things go and like just trust that I'm doing it right. But, it's a big learning curve.
And what about the transition? So like from one kid to two, from two to three, from three to four, is there one that you noticed that was more challenging than another? Did they all kind of get easier as it went?
No, honestly, yeah, 2 to 3 was my hardest transition, which 1 to 2 wasn't bad for me. I feel like my oldest was 2.5. He was a really good toddler. It was like my babies are also very easy babies. I've been blessed with like very nice babies, so that's great. But then 2 to 3, my oldest hadn't started kindergarten yet, so I had 3 little kids at home, and it was like, this is hard. Like not even just that we were outnumbered. Like it's just, I'm like, I don't know how I kept her alive, because every time I turned around, they were on top of her. Like, I was like, I would like lock her in my room for naps because I was like, don't touch her. So that was crazy. But then 3 to 4, I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. I've already done it.
I'm sure there are studies on this, and I haven't looked into it. But what I find so interesting is that moms of many children that I talk to, when they stop at 3, it's because it's so challenging and difficult, and they don't think, they're like, this is too much work. Yeah. But then that transition, once they get 4 or more children, there's something about the number of 3 kids that is just so challenging. So I would say, like, if you're gonna go for 3, just go for 4.
Yeah. Seriously. No, seriously. I'm like,
if you're gonna go for 4, just go for 8.
Yeah, see, I need to get my husband on board now.
We'll talk to him after we stop the episode. No, so yeah, that's so interesting that it was kind of this, but also your children were at a very critical young age, and there was a lot going on in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and she was born in 2021, so it was like also coming off of COVID, like all of these things, and so it was just a lot at once. And but my fourth, I'm like, just throw him in. He's also a very easy, nice baby, and I don't know if that's because he's a fourth and he has to be, but
yeah. Did you know this too, or have you heard this, that that birth order like repeats every 3? So really, like, your fourth baby is also kind of your second oldest child.
Really? I've never heard that. No.
Which could also be why he's so chill, because he's got everything under control.
Yeah, he's like, I don't need to worry about it. See, because I also feel like my daughter is like another oldest, but I think too, because she's the only girl. But
Yes. So you're going to have an interesting dynamic.
I know, I've got a lot of personalities
in your household. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of firstborn personalities there. What about your husband? Where does he fall in his
He's the
four?
second.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that would be something if he was
very
the
low
oldest.
Key, very, very. Yeah, because it's funny, because being the oldest and then raising an oldest is hard.
Girl.
Because I'm like, why? You are me, and I don't like it.
Yes. And I have said that So my daughter is the oldest,
Mm-hmm.
and she's so much like me in all of the ways that maybe are not my favorite, I would
Yes.
say.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, oh, and
Uh-huh.
then my youngest is so much like me in all of my favorite ways.
Yes. It's
And
so
so
wild.
it's a real balance there. And I see so much, like, it's not just a thing that people say, like, oh, she's the oldest child. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, there's
Oh,
definite traits
yeah, for sure. And
that
it's like the hard thing is you're like, some of these traits are what are going to make you very successful one day.
yes.
So I got to not squash them out of you.
Yes, I love this for you, but I don't love
Yeah.
that you're using it on me right
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
Like,
Like it will be good one day. Not
exactly.
now.
So tell me about what COVID was like when you had two young kids and you're pregnant and the world is going crazy.
Yeah.
Were you and two active boys who maybe their schedules, their worlds were turned upside down. What was that like?
Yeah. So before this, I was teaching preschool out of my house. I was teaching 2 days a week. That's kind of how I transitioned out of teaching in schools. Is I ended up teaching at my house 2 days a week, and it was like my friends' kids and neighbor kids that I would do. And so when COVID happened, I had to close, and I was teaching my oldest at that time in my class. So I closed preschool, and so my kids were home, and I had these preschoolers that I've been teaching that I had all this stuff planned. So I set out packets for all of them on my
Oh,
porch with like all the activities in them. So as COVID was happening, I was doing the packets, and then more people were asking, and that's kind of where my business got started, was doing these packets during COVID. So I not only had these busy boys, then during nap and bedtime, I was like slowly building a business that I didn't know was going to be a business.
right.
So it was like it was crazy at our house, but I also look back on those days and I'm like I loved them because we went on walks every day. They were in their Spider-Man suits all day long. Like it was like I got, the bounce house that everyone was buying in the house. My kids boys were bouncing, and like there was
Yeah.
you just got so creative with your kids, and it was really like that's a time that I don't think we can ever recreate, that
Yeah.
I really loved, and in the time felt very overwhelming, but now looking back it was really special too.
Yeah. So when you started teaching preschool from your home, was that intentional to spend more time with your own kids, or was teaching just overwhelming for that season?
Yeah, so I taught school when my oldest was born in October, and I was teaching. And so I went back after Christmas and I finished out the year, and I just felt this pull that I wanted to stay home with him. That's kind of what I always wanted to do. That was always my vision, was that I would be able to stay home with my kids. So once I finished that school year, I stayed home with him, and then that was my first year going through the first day of school without being part of it. Like, think like since kindergarten, I'd always had a first day of school. So I was like, wait, I really miss this. Like, I was sad on the first day. And so I kind of brainstormed. My mom actually was a teacher and then taught preschool out of her house. In Arizona, a lot of people do that. So a lot of neighborhood, like old teachers, will teach a preschool, and that's where you send your kid to an in home preschool. So I kind of thought, like, okay, maybe this is a way that I could do both. I could be home, but then also get to teach.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I didn't really find a curriculum that I loved. So I created my own. I wanted it to be themed and hands on. There were all these qualities that I wanted in it that I couldn't find. So I created my own curriculum. And the first year, I didn't teach my son. He wasn't old enough. And then the next year, he came. And I actually got him for 2 years. And then I got my next son. So it was so fun. And so I was done. I didn't teach preschool since I started learning with Kelsey, I hadn't taught. So since 2022. And I went back this year because my daughter is preschool age and my niece is. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to add one more thing to my plate. My husband's like, okay. And so I just have 8 little girls that are all my very close friends' kids that come, and I'm doing it this year, and it's been so fun.
What is the difference between creating a curriculum to ship,
Mm-hmm.
where, I don't know, do you get feedback from people who are using it? Do they like it? Do they love it? Is it something they can like customize on their own? And this is like a 25-part question, apparently. Versus having your own little class, your own group where you can see it in real time
Mhm.
being used. What is that dynamic?
Yeah, so it started as like a curriculum at home for moms to do because it was during COVID, and it's when we all had our kids home and didn't quite know what to do with them. And after about a year of doing that, I kind of realized that like you said, it's a curriculum with kids in your class than at home. And I realized that there was this need for moms to be able to, not moms that were homeschooling, not moms that were only teaching at home, but like just stay at home moms or working moms that wanted to do intentional time with their kids. And that we're all kind of inundated with all of this information. Like, here's this activity, here's this activity. And it just feels so overwhelming. And so I simplified my box and I made it 20 activities that they can do with their kids in about 10 to 15 minutes. So they're simple, easy activities that they pull out and do. All the supplies are in there. You don't have to be a teacher. You don't have to be like an educator, because kind of what I found was the most important was that intentional time with your child. Like getting 10 minutes of sitting and learning with them is just so beneficial, not only for your child and their behavior, but like also for you as a mom. You feel like, okay, I did something. I moved the needle a little bit towards making them feel loved and confident and understanding where they're at in their learning.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. And I think it speaks to, this is not the most eloquent way to say this. And I recognize that, because what I'm going to say is I think it speaks to the unspoken fear that a lot of moms have of, I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing what I should.
Yeah.
So having that simple entrance into that one-on-one bonding time with your kids is critical. Let me ask you this. So I'm a homeschool mom. And every year, like, we save up money
Yeah.
for the homeschool convention, where it's just hog wild. All the activities, all the things. And not so much now that my kids are older, but when
Yeah.
they were younger, when they were this age, it was all of the hands-on manipulative activities, all of that stuff. A pretty penny was saved up and spent to try to keep our kids engaged and happy and active and all of this. How does your curriculum differ from that?
So mine, I feel like, is different because it is more simplified than that. It's not giving you a bunch of like these tools that maybe are the colorful dinosaurs or, like all these different tools that you see on Lakeshore Learning or all these different places. It's simple things that you maybe wouldn't think of around your house, and it's sent to you in a way that you're getting exactly what you need for that month. So you're not getting 1,000 pom poms, you're getting 20, because that also is like kind of a barrier.
Yes.
Like, I would go to the store, even like when my oldest was little, I'm like, okay, I want to do this activity with him. I found it and I would go and get it. And I'm like, I don't need 1,000 pom poms. I don't need a huge thing of paint. Like, so the nice thing about it is that it comes exactly what you need. So you just pull it out, you use it that month. Some of the things are reusable. Some of them you will use them all up and then you'll move on. But it's a great way to like get a little bit of it without having the overwhelming amount of info.
Yeah, I'm all about that. And what about, like, what age specifically? I know we've said preschool, but like, what age of kids, or does it vary for who can handle what? Who is it designed for?
So it's for really ages 2 to 6 are my primary ages that we're working with. There's a toddler box, a preschool box, and a kinder prep box in the activity boxes.
Okay.
Because I as an early childhood educator, I realized that like I would see something online, it says, "Oh, this is for 2 to 4-year-olds," and I'm like, "No, it's not." A 2-year-old is so much different than a 4-year-old,
Yeah.
So mine are really tailored to their specific age, so that they're getting exactly what they need to work on. So like in our toddler box, we're doing a lot of fine motor activities. They're working on colors. They're working on sorting, things that the 2-year-old can do, and then they move up to preschool and they're starting to trace and get ready to write letters and, kind of moving them through what they would be working on without pushing them too much.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, how on your phone you get the photo memories that pop up from this day over the last however many years. So just today I had a photo memory pop up where we were living in a different house. And so my desk was facing the middle of the room essentially. And we had the kids' table set up in front of my desk. And then they had their their list in front of them of the things they needed to accomplish. And my son was maybe 3 when this picture was taken. And the things were like, or 3 or 4, somewhere in there. Practice these letters. So tracing these letters. He had to do mazes, a space puzzle, like the pieces were as big as my face, know. And I can't remember what the other thing was. Something like maybe trampoline, or we had a little rebounder trampoline, something like that. And I showed them today, and he was like, "Can I have that list again?"
He's like, "That's a good list."
Yeah, that's a real good list compared to his now. It is much longer. But it was just something so sweet about that age of development and how he would look forward to those things every day. But even now, today, as an 11-year-old, looking at that list and still wanting to do puzzles and mazes and things like that. Do you find that your older kids still want to hop in and help and do these activities?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I also, I added, about a year ago, we added a craft box that is for like 5 to 9-year-olds. So that one is just crafts. It's not the activities. And my oldest loves doing the crafts and also loves helping my younger ones. Like the fun thing about it is that anyone can kind of jump in and do it with them. So he'll do some of the activities, like instructor on what to do, how to do it, as a classic oldest child would. But telling her what to do. So it works out well.
Yeah. In this same picture, there was a partition that was set up between them at the table. I can tell you which child set up the partition.
I love that.
So let me ask you then, from a mom's perspective, like, what mom is this for? I know that it's created for these children at this age, but is this for a mom who feels overwhelmed? Is this for a working mom? Is this for a stay-at-home mom? What mom does this appeal to with these aged children?
Yeah, I think the most common mom that we have buying these are stay-at-home moms that are feeling like they want to do more with their kids, but just not knowing how. Or also, I've gotten quite a few like working moms that say like, okay, now I feel like when I get home, I can do something with my kids and I don't feel so burnt out, because they were overwhelmed. They get home, then you have to plan it, then you have to do whatever, but now they can just like pull it out and do an activity and it's easy, So I've kind of seen both sides, but majority of my moms that are invested in this are stay-at-home moms.
Yeah. And that makes sense. I was thinking too, as you were talking, it would be a great thing to have on hand for like those sick days or those weather cancellation days or whatever the case. You already have it there. You already have it on hand and you know how you're going to spend your time. Or maybe even, take it on a trip or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We have a lot that will take them for the summer, wherever they're going or whatever. But it's nice too, because I do also have like a download option for moms that have the supplies at their house, so they can just download the activities and the worksheets or whatever, and then get to do it with whatever supplies they have. So I think a lot of homeschool moms will do that because you guys have so many supplies, I'm sure.
We are borderline hoarders, basically.
You've accumulated them all. You have the 1,000 pom-poms.
Yeah, probably somewhere in a drawer. So what about for you as a teacher and a mom, and you see these activities in use? What does that cultivate for you?
Oh my gosh, it's like so surreal to me to get to see so many moms using them. Like it just makes me emotional just thinking like how many moms are feeling like empowered with their child's learning, and that how many moms are getting this special time with their kids, because those 5 years before school are just like so special to me, and some of my very favorite with my kids, and some that you never really get back, so I love that I'm just like a tiny piece of this in these other parents' homes. But yeah, it's crazy. We sent 14,000 boxes last month, which is so crazy.
Wow. Kelsey, that's like, phenomenal.
I can't even like fathom that. It's like so crazy, but it's really, really, really cool.
So how do you do that? How do you manage it?
So I have a team of about 20 women that work in my warehouse, and they're mostly moms, which is also really cool.
What?
I know.
So you've created like a mom economy.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, this is
It's
fantastic.
amazing. And yeah, so my husband, he actually quit his job in December and is working full time with me now. So that is another thing that as a teacher I would have like never ever fathomed that that would be a possibility in my life. So
Oh, this is amazing. I love being surprised just as much as the listeners. So like, did I look at your website? Yes.
yes.
But I like looked at it and
Yeah.
said, is she legit? What are we doing here? This is incredible. So
It's
do you
really
have
crazy.
like, are these moms who are on your team, do their kids span all kinds of ages and they just support the mission, or are they all moms of young kids?
They're all ages. Most of the women in my warehouse, their like youngest is at least in kindergarten, because majority of the women will drop their kids off at school and then come work at the warehouse and then leave to pick them up. So we really like, one of the most important things to me is that these moms get a chance to volunteer in their kids' school, go on the field trips, all that stuff. So that is, we're pretty flexible of when, if they need to miss, if they need to come late, so it's a really good environment for them to be in. It's something that we've really tried to foster because, I believe in it, and I love that these moms are getting to contribute to their families, but then also getting to be there for their kids.
Yeah. Okay. Walk me through this though. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this. You went from putting packets on your porch to shipping 14,000 boxes in 1 month.
Yes.
Like, I
know.
Just the emotional triumph of it. Like, what is this like, this legacy that you're building for yourself and your own accomplishments? Absolutely. But also for your kids to see all of this in action.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And I also had, in the mix of this, had 2 babies. So it's I'm like, it's been really, really crazy. But I've also like I think the reason that it's been able to do what it's done is because I've slowly, it's been 4 years, so not super slowly, but it wasn't like I started and said, okay, I'm going to make a business. This is going to be big. This is going to be, I did it because I loved it and I was excited about it. And so for the first 2 to 3 years, it was like, I was making $0, I was putting it all back in because I cared about it and because it was worth it to me. And then my husband is like my number one fan, my number one supporter. And so he was always had the vision with me. And he would say like, okay, if you're getting overwhelmed, let's hire someone to help you. Let's do this, So we kind of just slowly built our team through these years. And they've been people that, I've kind of learned how important community is and how important building a strong team is. And that is how we've done it. So it's like, first I was even looking, I had a sticky note up on my wall that was in 2022. And it was like, we sent 175 boxes. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like I circled it and like started like, this is the biggest number ever. And now we're here and it's just been it's so fun. I learn something new every day. Like I won't say like, if I can do this, anyone can do this, because I kind of don't take no for an answer on things. And I think that that's why, because I'm like, oh, well, I don't know how to do that. Okay, I'm going to figure it out. Or I want to do this. I'm going to figure out how to source it. I'm going to figure out who can do this for me. I'm going to reach out to people that maybe know more than me and learn from them. So
yeah. Sometimes I wonder if my husband tells me no just because he knows that will motivate me more to do it.
Then I can.
Yeah. Yeah. Like he just doesn't want to do it himself, maybe. So he'll be like,
so
no, because then he knows that I'll just be like fired up.
Yeah. You're like, well, then I can.
So you said something though that I want to kind of circle back and touch on. You talked about the importance of building a community. What does that look like for you, being, the founder of this booming business now, a mom of 4 kids under 10, your youngest is a year old? How do you find time for intentional community with others? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I think what I've learned in this journey, is that you can't do it all. Obviously we know this, but And balance looks different in my life at different times. And so what I've really had to do is like look at what's my priority, what is the most important thing to me, and then fill in the other things. So like for me, being a mom is my number one priority. Being 100% with my kids is my number one priority. So I had to say, okay, so I'm going to build in my mom times. These are all the times that I am not doing one bit of work. I'm not doing one anything. And then I can fill in the work times. And so for a long time, that looked like nap time and bedtime and getting up early. And now I've gotten to a place where I'm like, okay, twice a week I have a babysitter that comes, a nanny that comes and helps me 2 times a week for 4 hours. And so I can do work time during that time. But it's something that I've really had to work at because as an entrepreneur, which I apparently am now, I'm like, it's still really weird for me to say. Like I'm a teacher. As an entrepreneur, I feel like I can be doing something 24/7. Like there's never not something that I could be doing with my business. So I've had to really work hard to set boundaries on my own of, okay, you don't need to pick that up. You don't need to look at that. You don't need to worry about that right now. And so doing that has helped me to, number one, focus on my kids and then find my community in the people that I do have time, for. Like if I'm saying yes to something, it's because it really matters to me and I really care about it. Not just, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to go to this girls' night or, whatever I'm going to do. It's very intentional and very purposeful for me.
All right. I want every mom listening right now to go back those 3.5 minutes, whatever that was, and listen to Kelsey's answer again and just set yourself free from the burden of too much. I'm going to guess you are much younger than I am, but that was so wise and insightful. And I pray that every mom, young moms especially, learn that now. Yeah. Instead of regretting that they did not implement that sooner.
Yeah, and I'm sure like as a mom with older kids, like you just get better at being more confident in yourself, and I think that's one thing that motherhood has really given me is confidence in myself and confidence to say no to things and to say this is what matters and this is what doesn't. Because I think in my early years of motherhood, I know I was a people pleaser, like even as far as like I didn't want to, if I thought the doctor didn't say, like, I didn't want to step on any toes. I wanted to, so I've had to like force myself, like, your kids are what matters.
Yes.
You're their only advocate. You're their number one supporter. So I've had to like force myself to do hard things. And I think like, especially like now being a boss and being an owner, like that was a hard jump for me too, because I've had to have hard conversations. I've had to have things that I'm not used to get uncomfortable, but I think it's really helped me in my motherhood too.
Oh my goodness. This is stinking gold. Absolute gold. Because can we stay here for a minute?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I feel like from the feedback I get from listeners, so people who I know listen to this podcast, there is a struggle, an ongoing internal struggle with a sense of, we'll say, falling short with regard to, because they are a mom and they're focusing on their kids and they can't do XYZ, fill in the blank, pick your poison. They can't do these things out here. So they feel like they are missing out or disappointing other people. And therefore they have the sense that they have fallen short. When really the calling and the purpose is to fulfill that role of mom, number one.
Yeah.
Arguably number, pick your numbers.
Yeah.
God, spouse, children. Yeah, yes. Like, let's not get into the weeds here on that. Yeah. But the priority is not pleasing these other people is what I'm getting at.
Yes, 100%.
And the way that you framed that and said that, and because let me tell you this, when you talked about you find it easier to be more confident in saying no to things, I guarantee you, I can picture the face of the listener who was like, oh, I wish I could be more confident in saying no to things. What would you say to her? How would you coach her to find that, or to maybe ease into it, not to just maybe stomp your foot down and burn bridges, but maybe ease into it a little bit?
I think what I would say is lean in to the ones that you want to say yes to more first. Like I've especially found this with adult friendships. There's ones that you say yes to because you feel a duty or you feel you have to, and then there's ones that you can go and you feel uplifted, you feel fulfilled from this little interaction. And so I would say start by leaning into those and noticing how much better it feels. How much lighter you feel in that situation than when you're forcing yourself to go do something or to go whatever. And that kind of makes it easier to say no because you have these other options. Because almost like, I don't know, maybe this is an oldest child thing, a little bit of FOMO. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you feel a little bit like I'm missing out. They're not going to invite me again. They're not gonna reach out to me again. And then I had to realize, like, I don't want to go. Like, every time I feel stressed, every time I feel overwhelmed, I don't want to do that. And so realizing that and recognizing how you feel and which ones really matter to you, I think is the first step in getting better at that.
Oh, so good. This is why I love this podcast. We're just sitting here swapping
I'm
stories.
feeling like, wow, I'm learning so much for myself. I feel like I was really nervous. I want to say good things, and I'm feeling a little.
Kelsey's going to take her own notes. Like,
we're always
wow,
like,
that was
at my business. We're always saying like, oh, we're all learning with Kelsey because we're learning how to do new things.
There's going to be a whiteboard wall of quotes after this episode. That's fantastic. So, how do the other moms who work with you, who work for you, how do they feel about this contribution really to the moms who are implementing this curriculum and to their own contribution to their household incomes? Like, what has this done for them?
Yeah, I think a lot of the moms that I have in my warehouse didn't work for a while because their kids were home. And so it's kind of their first step back out into working. And a lot of them have found like how nice it is for them to have this time that's for them in a way,
Yeah.
Yes, it's working, but like they're surrounded by other women that they get to talk to, that they get to relate to. And so I think that has been really great for a lot of them. And then, just feeling like as a stay-at-home mom, you can feel like I'm not contributing anything. I don't make any money. I'm not, even though you're contributing everything, as a stay-at-home mom, you're contributing way more than anything. But it is still nice to feel like, okay, I have this that I'm bringing into our family and I am contributing in a financial way.
Yeah. Which it doesn't have to be millions of dollars, like every little bit helps, but also just that sense of achievement and accomplishment and purpose. Like these moms are all fulfilling a huge purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
14,000 other families.
Yeah. It's so cool. And I love to like share with them these stories that I get from moms. Like I had a mom a couple weeks ago that messaged me and said how grateful she is for the box because she is postpartum with her second and had very bad postpartum depression. And this has allowed her to feel a little bit lighter because she feels like she's doing something with her older child, which I can relate to so much because you feel when you have that second one, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough for my first, but so it's really cool to get to hear those stories and get to feel like we are just a little part in that.
Yeah. Oh, this is just so rich. So what about, well, let me come up for air a little bit because
we're talking about so many good things.
I dove deep and I stayed down there a while, Kelsey. So where can people find your products, learn more about you personally? Where can they find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Learning with Kelsey. And then you can also, my website is learningwithkelsey.com. So on Instagram, I share a lot of like free tips, ideas, activities that you can do with your kids, along with the boxes and the themes that we have for the upcoming months. But it's also just a good place to go to see what other moms are doing, get some good ideas, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And this is kind of, I'm going to sound like I'm beating a dead horse here because I talk about this a lot on the podcast with different guests, but just the balance of like social media and life. This kind of stuff is what I think social media is perfect for finding new ideas, implementing them with your family at home. It's the I was just sharing with another guest, like, I don't understand and I'm sorry if you do this.
No, tell me.
I
probably
haven't
don't.
checked or verified.
I hope not. No,
I don't understand the get ready with me.
Oh, no. Things
things.
are too hard for me.
I don't
couldn't do
get it. I don't understand, like, why am I going to watch someone else just get ready for their day when I should be getting ready for mine?
Getting ready. Yes, for sure. But and it's so easy to get sucked in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. The things that we have kind of like been reduced to, I feel like it's almost like, I feel like I should be offended, but it's just everywhere.
It's everywhere.
You know? But these kinds of things, the tips and the ideas and here's how you do this, like, that's what the internet should be for. That's what social media should be for. Yeah, we need more. And I love the tips because I get so many tips I love following like the food mom Instagrams, that show me how to do baby led weaning with my baby or what is a good snack idea because why do they need snacks every day? Oh my goodness. It's not just every day. It's like every 15 minutes. Yeah, I'm like you just had a whole meal. Yeah, it's always right after dinner. Can I have a snack? I'm like, oh, you can have dinner. Oh my, there's more food from dinner. It's sitting right there. Yeah. So thank you for indulging me in that. And also, listeners, I do want to say, Kelsey has been kind enough to issue a discount code for us. So if you go to her website, learningwithkelsey.com, is that right? Yep. You can enter the code TME15 at checkout. That will save you 15% on your order. Thank you so much for giving that generous discount to my listeners. I can think of a couple right now who are probably on this site already. I love it. While we're wrapping up our conversation here, kind of checking it out. But just before we part ways here, I mean, I could talk to you for so much longer, but you are a mom and you've got things to do. I know. I think my baby's outside my door. I thought I heard a little squeal. How would you just encourage the moms that we've been talking about this entire episode who just could use the respite, use the break, use this kit already created for them so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel? How would you encourage her in spending time with her kids? I would just say that it doesn't need to be too long. It doesn't need to be over the top. It doesn't need to be overly planned. It just needs to be what you want it to be as a mom. So whether that is using my box, whether that's reading a book. I remember when I had just one kid, I would listen to podcasts all the time of like ideas. And I remember one mom saying, I have found the best times of my motherhood is when I do things that I love with my kids. So I would encourage moms to find things that you're excited about, that you love, and bring your kids in with you. So good. I mean, you go back and listen to this episode, Kelsey. Take the notes, share them at your next staff meeting. Yes. This has just been so phenomenal. Thank you. Yes, thank you for coming. So much for having me and asking such great questions. I loved it. Oh gosh. Well, I'm glad you think so because really I was just feeding my own curiosity for a lot of this, but you've been fantastic. Listeners, I encourage you to check out learningwithkelsey.com. And Kelsey, I hope that when you find the time and maybe your kids are a little older, you can come back and give us an update. Tell us all about it. Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. To join our exclusive TME community, head over to themotherhoodexperience.com/learn more. Be sure to follow the Motherhood Experience on Facebook or Instagram, and please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below, and we'll catch you next time.